supposed to happen on Friday, but now it's Monday, so we had to stay.
So, what are you launching, Steve?
We'll know on Monday. It's for some network somewhere. For some show. Someday. All right, no, that's no biggie. Well, this will be good. It's okay. No worries. I am nothing but chill. I'm fine. I've done, in Haiti with like plugging bare wires into the wall. I've done, so it's no biggie. Should I go ahead and start? Are you the person? All right. Thank you. How's it going, guys? I'm Steve Peters. I've done some Transmedia stuff, and Transmedia is on one hand it's getting a bad rap, and on the other hand it's the biggest thing since sliced bread. And the first thing I want to do before we start off is we're gonna change things up right from the very beginning. So I want you all to get out your phones that you've probably put on silent mode, because that's what you do when you're in a group setting. I want you to take them and I want you to turn the volume all the way up and turn them off silent. So, because here's what I want to do. When you guys get like text messages and emails, and I want to hear pings and bings and boops all over. And here's the thing, it's going to be like a total reverse play. So if somebody next to you, they get a little thing on their phone, instead of like, I want you to look at each other like, man, you're really popular. It's true, right? So everybody, make sure your phones, just put it out here, because this is all about the second screen, right? And so this second screen that everybody is touting is, the savior of mankind, and Hollywood and all that kind of stuff. What I'm going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about Transmedia, and I'm just going to share kind of some from my own background. I don't know how many of you saw, people have been talking about Transmedia. The Blizzard thing was awesome. It was really an alternate reality game. They never called it that, but I kept saying, you guys, you were puppet masters, you didn't know it. So, anyway, so Transmedia. Let's talk about Transmedia. It's an amazing thing. Transmedia. It's here to save us all. A lot of people have a lot of different things to say about it, and these are going to be actual quotes about Transmedia. This is really great. It's the end of TV as we know it. Now, I'm probably in your way. Maybe I should move. No, I can't move anywhere. I'll try and do this. All right. The end of TV as we know it. This is an actual quote. The future of advertising. Transmedia is the future of the future of the entertainment industry. Convergence as a set of cultural practices. What the hell? I don't know. That must have been an academic writing that. I don't know. The end of single media entertainment. That kind of makes sense. It'll save storytelling, because as we know, storytelling is broken. We can't tell stories. It's a storytelling revolution. It's the key to social evolution. You saw the last scene of 2001 and had something to do. That was Transmedia, the baby in the orbit. It's like a walk in Patagonia. What the hell? I don't even know what that means. Conversely, other people think other things. Here's some other great quotes about Transmedia, some of which, I'll leave it up to you which ones I agree with. Transmedia storytelling. What the fuck? It's an empty buzzword. The biggest trend of 2010. It'll be forgotten in 5 years. Filmmakers hate Transmedia. It's the new dihydrogen monoxide. Now that was my quote. Yeah, because did you see it was the Penn and Teller thing where they were like telling people, they were going around saying, there's dihydrogen monoxide in our water, we need to get rid of it, will you sign this petition? Not knowing, those of you, what is dihydrogen monoxide?
H2O.
Yes. Transmedia is a lie. We all know who. It's an overblown, pretentious buzzword. It's bullshit. So what I'm going to do here, we're going to talk about the pros and cons and what we think, what I think, what my observations have been. I've been doing this since about 2001-ish, something like that. I've been involved in various, and I've done a lot of things. I've been honored to be in a lot of projects. I've done a lot of cool stuff, I think, but I've made a lot of mistakes too along the way, and so I'm just going to tell you about the stuff I've seen. And I like to do things in kind of a, just kind of, we're here talking sort of way. So, is that Google Glass you're wearing? Is that?
I wish.
Oh no, okay, sorry, I don't have my glasses on. This is broken, right? Oh shit, I'm being recorded again, I don't even know. Alright, I'm going to start off by telling you two stories, showing you two stories, and they're both very, very different. You'll see why here in a second. Now, I got to hold the mic up to the computer here.
Weeks of drinking gallons of Ovaltine in order to get the Ovaltine inner seal to send out for my little orphan Annie's secret decoder pin
There we go.
was about to pay off.
Master Ralph for my decoder pin.
Can you hear it? Yeah.
All right.
This is fun. You get to watch A Christmas Story during my thing.
Be it known to all and sundry that Ralph Parker is hereby appointed a member of the Little Orphan Annie Secret Circle and is entitled to all the honors and benefits occurring thereto.
Signed, Little Orphan Annie. Countersigned, Pierre Andre. In ink. Honors and benefits already at the age of 9. Come on, let's get on with it. I don't need all that jazz about smugglers and pirates.
Tomorrow night for the concluding adventure of the Black Pirate Ship. Now it's time for Annie's secret message for you members of the Secret Circle. Remember, kids, only members of Annie's Secret Circle can decode Annie's secret message. Remember, Annie is depending on you. Set your pins to B2. Here is the message. 12, 11,
I attend my first secret meeting.
14, 11, 18, 16.
Pierre was in great voice tonight. I could tell that tonight's message was really important.
3, 25.
Transmedia in the 1930s.
And yourself, remember, don't tell anyone.
90 seconds later, I'm in the only room in the house where a boy of 9 could sit in privacy and decode. Ah, B. I went to the next. E. The first word is B. S. It was coming easier now. U. That's R.
I'll be right there, Mom.
T. O. Be sure to. Be sure to what? What was little orphan Annie trying to say? Be sure to what?
Annie got to go. Will you please come? All right, Mom. I'll be right out.
I was getting closer now. The tension was terrible. What was it? The fate of the planet may hang in the balance.
No, Annie's got to go. I'll be right out. Sign out loud.
She almost there. My fingers flew. My money was a steel trap. Every pore vibrated. It was almost clear. Yes, 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 yes.
Be sure to drink your Ovaltine. Ovaltine? A crummy commercial? Bitch.
I wanted to play that whole thing because, you know, it's like 3 minutes long, which is valuable time, but that's a time commitment, right? He put a lot of time into that, and he got a crummy commercial. Second story, the interesting thing with that is it's an example of, you know, a lot of the talk about transmedia as far as advertising and stuff like that. It's kind of not anything new because people have been doing like the Little Orphan Annie thing. But I want you to remember the be sure to drink your Ovaltine. That's very important. But here's another story. Recently I did, well, not that recently now, probably 5 or 6 years ago now. I got a phone call. There was the TV show Transmedia, or the Terminator, Sarah Connor Chronicles, had a kind of a transmedia alternate reality game going on. And I got a phone call from a friend of mine who says, hey, listen, I don't know if you're playing this game, but there's right down the street from you, there's a park, and there's supposedly something buried in the park. Would you mind going down and checking it out for us? Because we don't have anybody in the area. So I'm like, sure, why not? Actually, it's kind of what I do. And so it was like, 8 o'clock, it was wintertime, it was dark, and it was kind of rainy outside. And I asked my daughter, she's 14, and I said, hey, you want to come down to the park with me? And we're going to try and find something that's buried in the park, thinking, she's like, I got the homework. But she's like, no, let's go. That's great. So we hop in, and I think this was like 2007, so it's like I had my brand new iPhone that I could, all I had was GPS coordinates. So I'm like, with my new iPhone, very happy that I can actually enter the GPS coordinates and find out what's going on. And so we get to this park, it's cold, it's rainy, it's muddy. We didn't know what we were looking for, let alone where it was, and so we're just kind of unshuffling around, and I'm beginning to think, we're there for like 10 or 20 minutes, and I'm starting to think, we're cold, and I don't know if, my daughter's going to catch cold. I'm not being a good parent. And all of a sudden she goes, Dad, I found something. And she would like kick something up on the ground, and she would pick it up, and it was this thermos. We found this thermos from the future. And it was cool because, we didn't know what was in it. She picks it up. She's very excited. And you guys probably know how this feels. We run back to the car. I look at her. She's got this muddy thermos in her hand. She's sopping wet. Her hair is like just, in droves down her face. And she looks at me. She goes, Dad, this is so cool. I feel like I'm in a movie. And for me, that was like, ding, that was the golden word. It was like, I feel like I'm in a movie. They're doing this experience for you. And it puts you in a situation where they're telling you a story and you feel like you're part of the story. Now, we went on to open it up and found, a camera from the future, and we opened it up. And, of course, there were pictures on it that we had to, from a not very nice-looking future that we had to share. But the point is that here's two different experiences, kind of the same thing. We had one experience where we took extra steps. Ralphie loved in Little Orphan Annie, and he wanted more of that story, and so he got this decoder pin thinking he was going to be part of it. And so at the end of the day, what did he get? He got a crummy commercial. But then we had the Sarah Connor Chronicles, this kind of alternate reality game, and at the end of the day, instead of there's a crummy commercial, it's I feel like I'm in a movie. So the question is, as kind of creators and players, what do we want for ourselves? Somewhere along the way, we've decided that it's okay to make people do extra things and take extra steps and give them an ad at the end of it, and give them marketing at the end of it. I don't know when that's become a good idea, when we've got them in the palm of our hands and we can give them more of the story that we're trying to tell them. And so I don't know why that's a good thing, but obviously, if you're like me, we want it to be like, I feel like I'm in a movie. Now, let me ask you guys, what's the difference? What's the main difference between those two experiences? There's a couple pretty major differences.
Immersion.
Well, define that.
The fact that you're saying drink your Ovaltine immediately disrupts your sense of, or your suspension of disbelief. It jerks you straight out of the story world and straight into the commercial.
Right. So you've kind of got this, you've got this story you've got really a commercial that's disguised as a story, right? So instead of poorly disguised as a story, it's interesting that's kind of exactly the point. One of them was kind of a sneaky ad for a sponsored product, which, nothing against sponsors because we all need sponsors, absolutely. The other one was a sneaky free sample of story. Right? Because it was an advertisement for the show, but it wasn't like tune in on Saturday at 7 p.m. It wasn't like an ad like that. It was basically a free sample of story from the show, basically saying, hey, if you like this story, we got more stories to tell you. So that's kind of the bullshitty part of Transmedia I want to kind of talk about is kind of this idea that we can use all this cool technology to like sell people shit. And again, I have nothing against selling people shit because it's what makes the world grow. But I think there's so many. I get frustrated because I see opportunities to tell more story, and I see people not using it for that. So the last example is kind of what I've started to call a connected experience, and it's when a single story is kind of broken into pieces and scattered around for the audience to experience in different ways, and they all. They're all there to serve the story itself and not to serve, like Ovaltine. So the challenge is, so what is a connected experience? And, I'm kind of a show not tell kind of guy. Hang on. I'm getting a tweet. Sorry, Steve, I know you're in an important meeting or something, but I really need your help. Sorry, let me see if I can get rid of that. Anyway, so Where was I? Sorry. Connecting experiences. Yes. Oswald, crap, I'm out of time. Go to www.internationalmimeacademy.com. Quick, you're my only hope. All right. Well, you guys have browsers on your phones or something? You guys have laptops? You got a laptop open?
Yes.
You got internet?
Yes.
Here, let me exit out of here. Maybe I can do it live here too. All right. So we go to internet. Can you see that?
Yes.
InternationalMimeAcademy.com. All right. I can't even see the whole thing.
International Mime Academy.
Oh, technology, I gotta. All right, so we got a website here about a mime academy. If we let's see, you look around, we'll do the, we'll just kind of explore here and play. So we got history. Oh, look, mimes were in ancient Egypt. That's really nice to know. A contact us page. Oh, look. Oh, for more information, call. There's a phone number. I wonder what happened if we called the phone number. Well, let's call the phone number. This is your phone. You got your phones out. Everybody has to call this phone number. Because you know what? The story goes on this way. So let's call. And it's a 310, so I'm glad the Mime Academy has a local number. 32. I hope we get cell phone coverage in here. 1805. All right, if you don't have cell phone coverage, I'll hold. Let's see.
Don't do it. It's a trap. A horrible trap. And she said that a mine was a terrible thing to witness. Now I know a mine is just a terrible thing. They've got me, and I need your help. Find my website. A terrible thing to waste. Terrible thing.
A terrible thing to waste. That, my friends, is what is known as a call to action. Don't you think? So, a terriblethingtowaste.com. All right, let's head over there and see. See, this is not canned. This is live, so hopefully I'm dropping mics. A terriblethingtowaste.com. And, oh, look, we have a blog. And it needs an update. That's good to know. Why is there a blog here? Oh, it's this. Oh, scary mimes. There's Oswald the mime. Oh, he wants his inner mime. Oh, look. Let's see. Let's I'll say. Oh, I love Instagram. He has a brand new Instagram. Let's check out his Instagram.
That is new.
Oh yeah. Things can change in real time. That's amazing. Oh, so on Instagram. Oh, and he had, what was that thing it said? It said, I'm so excited. I love Instagram. I love it so much. So. Boy, you can't see everything. This kind of makes it a little hard. He says, I love photography because you can silently convey a thought or message in 5 or 6 images. Well, that sounds like a clue, don't you think? So, let's take it. It's kind of like charades. So let's see, we got the first one here. So what is this? Look for
mime off.
Mime on your this is the one I think I need to change because I think generationally.
On your wall?
It's a tube.
Oh, tube.
It's a tube.
Like a YouTube.
On YouTube. Oh, look for me, maybe Oswald on YouTube.
Oh,
All right.
YouTube.
All right. So now we go to YouTube.
Tree grave.
Yeah, tree grave. Now he said 5 or 6 pictures. See, let's see. Oswald.
I'm not going to read too much into it.
Yeah. All right. Oh, look, there's an Oswald the Mime. Very good. Good job. So, and he has, let's see. Oh, he's also got some favorite videos, Marcel. We won't watch those. We'll watch the Please Help video. Hopefully, please.
My name is Oswald. I'm a store manager of a radio hack in St. Paul, Minnesota. Or at least I was. I just want to make people laugh. I saw this flyer for a free mime class, and so I thought I'd go. They loaded us into a van, and they blindfolded us and drove us around for 5 days. There they taught us the basics, the invisible rope, the invisible box, and then they made us go out in the streets and mine for spare change. It was horrible. They have a quota. They said if we don't meet the quota, then they beat us. They said they're going to sell us to guys, say shells, and I'll never see Sweet Home Minnesota again. They all report to a guy called Mr. Mine. They say he has eyes everywhere. If anybody out there needs lives as much as I do, right now, please help me. Yeah, okay. They're coming. So this door right here is locked with some sort of bicycle lock. It says it's Kryptonite Evolution 2000. If anybody knows how to unlock one of these locks, let me know. Email me at Oswald at my website.
All right, another call to action. Oh, Adrian Brody, very nice. Kryptonite Evolution 2000, right? Evolution 2000. There's not much more. We'll save them soon here. I feel confident. Oh, look, it looks like if you use a big pen, you can get out of you can unlock a Kryptonite Evolution. So, what did he say? Email him at Oswald@aterriblethingtowaste and with the keyword big pen. So, I'm not going to email him. Should we email him? All right, I'll email him. I don't know if it'll come up for mine because I've emailed him quite a few times, but let's try it. Let's see. Maybe I'll use a different account here. All right. Oswald at... Oh, look, I already have him. Fancy that. Let's see. Hey, Oswald. Big pen, man. Whoops. Big pen, baby. All right, let's... Now, in a perfect world, Oswald will get this message, and there we go. Very nice. Oh, Jeffrey, looks like you emailed him. I think he got your email address. That's very nice. Well, Jeffrey, you should get a reply then. Yeah, let us know when you get a reply.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? And hopefully the servers are working. We'll see. Oh, I got a reply. Oh no, did you get a reply yet?
Oh, did you send it? You didn't send it.
Well, no, I get a copy. You see, Oswald CCs me. I'll take it.
Oh, so you do get a copy of it.
I get a copy of everybody. So just so you know, I've got some great emails too, by the way. All right. Anyway, we'll shorten this down. We'll shorten this down. So basically, when you email Oswald, you tell him how to get out, and you get a nice, reply from Oswald saying, "Oh my God, thank you. I'm free. You saved me, and my life is going to be better." And that kind of brings a nice ending to this nice little story arc that we just had for you. That are people's phones ringing? My phone's not ringing.
Hello.
Oh. So there you go. That was our 10-minute experience. That's just a little example of how you can tell a story across media. Now, and I want to talk a little bit about kind of that whole controversy. And I wanted to give you an example. And my whole point with this too is I wanted hopefully just kind of inspire you to think in different ways about the different platforms and kind of creative ways that you can use them to tell stories. That was definitely, it was a story that was connected across media. We had, it went from, Twitter to a website, phone calls, blog to Instagram, YouTube, Google research, and then ended up with an email and a surprise phone call. So, but here's the thing that is interesting and what I want to talk about is this kind of misnomer about transmedia and what it is and what it isn't. And this is kind of my take on it. Now, transmedia, what most people mean when they talk about transmedia is to take content and just throw it out there all over the place. And I think there's definitely a place for that, right? I mean, we live in this digital age where it's like, gotta have a Facebook app, gotta have a Twitter, put stuff out there. and it's mostly in a marketing context. Because typically advertisers are doing the same thing that storytellers are trying to do. We're trying to use these new technologies to do our best work. And so what we're seeing is a lot of things. It's come to meaning just kind of multi-channel marketing strategy or all sorts of different things, right? And what it's lacking is, to me, what it's lacking is, well, let's talk about this too. It's nothing new, right? Franchising has been around for a long time. Most notably, everybody talks about, oh, take a look at this guy. This guy's awesome. Look at all the Star Wars stuff he has. Now, this guy is his name is Leland Shee. He's the keeper of the holocron. You probably know about this guy. Basically, he's the continuity database administrator for Star Wars, the entire Star Wars universe, and he's basically the guy who tracks and preserves continuity through all the stuff, through the video games and the movies and all that stuff. And it's it's for a good reason, for licensing to save writers, the headache of contradicting themselves or contradicting other properties. Now, just because everybody's online now and you can get instant access to them doesn't mean that this is fundamentally changed. And there's nothing wrong with this. And I'm not knocking marketing and franchising because I love my Star Wars figures. I love my lunchbox. But here's the thing. Yeah, with that, there's stuff everywhere. It's very strategic. It's very well crafted. But here's the key. The stuff is not necessarily connected to each other. That lunchbox, you don't like get the Star Wars lunchbox and look at it and open it up and go, oh my God, that's what happened. That's where there's not like new story content in your lunchbox. I guess you could make it, oh, he loves chocolate milk. Yoda, who knew? Eat your apple, you will. I don't know. It's just like, so here's the thing. Here's my take on transmedia. And, well, actually, here's what cool people, this is cool people. And by cool people, I mean myself. To me, it's really easy, and it gets made really complicated, and it's not that complicated, because you know what? In transmedia, there's a little piece of the word there that's called trans. And trans, well, let's talk about this. Let's look at different uses of the word trans. Well, we had Trans World Airlines. Those of you older than 30 probably remember Trans World Airlines. Great airline, not as good as Pan Am, but Trans World Airlines. So an airline, it's, I don't know, you take a journey from point A to point B, you get on a plane, there's a departure and there's a destination. Let's see what else. Oh, the Transcontinental Railway. Connected 2 points and let people then travel from the East Coast to the West Coast. Back in 1869. Connected up San Francisco with the Missouri River. Transcendental, that's another kind of interesting term. It kind of means going beyond the limits of ordinary existence. So there's kind of you're going somewhere. Transgender, I mean, there's a progression from one to the other. A transition, if you will. Transformation. There's 2 more trans words I'm using. So all of these things have one thing that's pretty obviously in common, at least to me, and that is there's a journey involved. Yeah. And I wish I had sound for this. I really do. And it always, it's funny, Journey always reminds me of the last episode of Sopranos, too. I don't know, it's that song. There's a journey involved, and when transmedia storytelling is done right, that story is taking you on a journey across these different platforms. It's kind of weaving a tapestry, and it's not just kind of like this thing and it radiates out. It looks to me more like something like this. It's a lot more linear than people give it credit for. Sure, there may be branches, and there may be little different things, but it's linear. There's a definite journey, and that's what we want to do with our stories anyway, right? I mean, it's a story arc, right? An arc has a beginning and an end, so it's the same thing. It's not just let's just take a bunch of crap and put it out there for people to find it. And they're not connected to each other. The Blizzard guys told a great story of their great job using Twitter to help move stuff forward. So that's kind of my take. Transmedia is a journey across different media. I can't believe I'm still this struggle with the word has been like epic. But here's my problem is it's really sad. I hate the word transmedia, but it's the right word, but most people aren't using it right. It's the right word for what I do, and it's the right word for what storytellers are doing. Most of the time it's being used wrong as just kind of a new buzzword and so people are then throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So That's kind of my take, and now I'm. This is the part where I edited it out because I was going to have my partner here, and now I'm not sure. Hang on, I'm not sure where I'm going from here. Oh yes. So Transmedia, there's two sides to it. There's the we're going to use Transmedia storytelling. It's kind of marketing and social. It's isolated. That means the pieces don't necessarily depend on another piece. There's no hypertextuality, right? Remember hypertext? This is what our whole lives are revolving around now, is clicky on those little things, and you're whisked off to somewhere. A Facebook app, you don't necessarily have to finish the Facebook app by going somewhere else. I mean, it's all kind of contained. That's fine. And the thing that strikes me too with most of the stuff that people are using Transmedia for is that it's really the audience is kind of coming second. They're saying, oh, we need a presence on here, we need to leverage this, we need to blah, blah, that. That's one frame of thought. Another frame of thought is that it's all about the story. And that's what I love about Rickon. It's all about the story. This is experience design incarnate. Storytellers. We're telling stories. We're telling experiences. There's a journey there, and the audience comes first. The audience experience is the thing that drives everything else. It's not, oh, we need to have this character, put them on Facebook because that's good strategy. No, it's like, does this make sense for this character to have a Twitter account? Well, he's a gladiator in 600 BC or whatever. No, it doesn't make much sense. So that's kind of, I'll leave it up to you to decide which one of those is the BS. I'm not going to come out and say it. Well, we all know. No, but because both are valid, but I'm saying the use of the term transmedia storytelling is just it's a little off. So what I want to do, what I'm hoping that you do when you go out and you see people doing things like the Ovaltine commercial. The other example for me is like I was watching 24. You guys remember 24? Jack Howard holds up his phone. He's driving across the African Sahara or something like that, and holds up his phone, and it says Sprint, but it's got a phone number on it, and it's not a 555 number. So my spidey sense is like, oh, it's a real phone number. I'm going to call it. So I was Ralphie. It was crazy. I was Ralphie. So I, call the phone number, thinking I'm going to find out who the drug kingpin is or something like this, and so it rings, and then it answers, welcome to the Sprint 24 experience. Press 1 for free ringtones. Press, and it immediately did that exact same things. So we've got these opportunities that are missed. Like for me, that was all about, gosh, you had that phone number up there. You had your audience in the palm of your hand. You had them wanting more from your characters that you're lovingly creating, from this story world that you're making. Give them more of that. Sponsors, we need sponsors. We need money to build these things, absolutely. But if you're asking people to take extra steps to do stuff, have it be, give them story content. That's my thing. So I want to leave you with a couple what-ifs, and then we can take some questions. This is like in Steve's perfect world, right? So as you go out and you see things and I hope that again, that it just kind of, something will click. In a way, Transmedia is kind of a mindset, right? All of a sudden you start seeing possibilities and things that you didn't see before. So, like what if you're watching a TV show, and you're watching Friends, and Rachel, it's a reunion, right? And Rachel pulls out her phone and she texts somebody, and then you get that text message on your phone in sync with what you're watching on TV. That would be pretty cool. What if you're playing a game on Xbox, and it's a first-person shooter, and you go into this basement room, and all of a sudden your phone rings, and it's your handler going, whoa, stop, do not go back the way you came because blah, 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 and he gives you instructions on how to get out. That would be kind of cool. Nobody's done that yet. I should patent that.
We should talk.
We should talk. What if you buy a ticket online for a play, and the story begins as soon as you hit submit? Whatever that means. Maybe you get a phone call. Maybe you get an email from somebody. What if you're driving home from a movie, and you get a text message, and the sequel to the movie starts right then? What if you see a phone number just in a TV show? You see a phone number and you call it, and instead of the 24 experience, or robot voice, asking you to press 1 for free ringtone, you actually get a recording from a character. Or better yet, what if you actually have a live character on the other line that you can interact with? And better yet, what if you talk to that character and you can influence the storyline for next week's episode? Who knows? I mean, that would be tough. I would hate that there's a lot of lead time. I'm not going to be that producer. But this is the kind of things we've got to start thinking about, because it's like, I want to say, storytellers, we got to use the technology for good, right? We got to, take hold of it and just use it, because you know what? It's cool. And I got to tell you, making somebody's phone ring still gives you the best bang for the buck. It's a simple magic trick. But man, if you're watching a TV show and all of a sudden, between the episodes, you get a phone ring from the main character and saying, "Oh my God, my hair," whatever the show is. I don't know why I went there. Wow. But you know what I'm saying. You gotta, you're interacting and you are engaging with this story world, and the key is we've got the technology now to make it feel like the story that you're consuming is actually taking place in the world that we live in. You see a website on CSI. Oh, so and so, the dominatrix. Here's her website. Well, I go there, and it auto forwards to CBS.com. What a wasted opportunity. Of course, I'm sure lawyers had something to do with that. But it's that kind of thing that I want to encourage you. And hopefully, by doing this and just kind of showing you an example of a kind of a real simple transmedia story, hopefully that'll just get your mind going and you can start thinking about stuff and just build it. I mean, this is great. We've got these live action role playing games. Throw in, electronic components to it. I mean, walk down the street and all of a sudden your GPS triggers something and you get a phone call going, "I see you down there. You need to go to the left down to the park and kill the mime that you see." And that'll be an awesome game.
Sounds like that too serious.
That's right. I do. Everybody hates mimes, though. I don't know. It all goes back to one of my childhood, but I won't talk about that. I think, I think that's all I got. I think I'll take questions if you got them and, stuff like that. Yeah.
What tool did you use to make the phone call and make the phone call to us and for us to make the phone call in?
There's a bunch of different independent vendors that do stuff like that. The company we use for this one is called SudJam, SUDJAM. Although I don't know how much they're doing it. There's also Twilio, I think
Twilio. There's like two of them.
Yeah, that they do even more. So they'll do stuff like be able to parse emails that you get. Well, yeah.
I wonder if this and that can do that now because they've updated their
maybe.
To include phone.
Yeah, the main thing you got to take into account with all that stuff is volume. The scope, how many. If you're going to get 1 million, I got a story. Yeah, I did that once. We were doing a project and I was monitoring the phone number, and all of a sudden our phone number, how you hear, "Oh, we want this to go viral"? You really don't want it to really go viral, because this phone number, all of a sudden our bill was we had 7.5 million calls in a month. And I had to sheepishly go to the producer and go, "Hey, I think we're going to owe a little bit of money because those were not free calls." I don't know, they weren't a deal. But yeah, so there's a couple different services out there that can do it. And Twilio, I think, is newer than SudJam. They made pretty good. SudJam is a small boutique shop that we kind of custom build stuff with. So
Conductor is actually the CONDUCTTR.
is Conductor doing phone calls now?
Well, he's got some interesting books that he's building.
Yeah, check out
But
Conductor.
they still have to partnership with something like Twilio or something like that.
But there's a lot of these kind of software packages that are actually built.
And a lot of them too. And the cool thing is make sure they have manual triggers too. Because that phone call at the end, I manually triggered. I just tapped the link on my phone and it sent the phone call out to you guys. I had the link. Now I have all your phone numbers. But of course, we won't sell them. No, we don't. They delete after automatically. So, any other questions? Well, hopefully this was fun. I hope you got something out of it. Was there another one? Sorry. Yeah.
I find the whole thing absolutely fascinating. I'm really kind of wondering what separates this from multimedia storytelling, or is it just tomatoes?
To a certain extent, to me, it's the multimedia storytelling. It depends on how you're defining that.
So one of the ways you can define the difference between multimedia and transmedia is whether or not it's all the same screen, or if it's all part of the same app. So a rich media app, the Magical Flying Books of Morris Lesmore, like you would see on the iPad, might be defined as more of a multimedia experience. When you break out beyond that one self-contained thing, live.
Yeah, it's kind of more about platforms.
Yes. Then it gets into more of a transmedia thing. So from a book to a media.
Jeffrey Long, ladies and gentlemen.
TV. Yes. That's more.
Or you jumping across, jumping
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
And that becomes transmedia.
Yeah, arguing.
Well,
Yeah.
And here's an interesting thing too to think about, and this is, since we got a little bit more time, the nuancing of this is kind of interesting. In that, now remember, what we talked about was, well, would this character have a Twitter account? And your first reaction is, well, no, they wouldn't. But here's the thing. If you're watching Gladiator, at this point in time, we don't go, wait a minute. They didn't have film crews back then. Well, who had filmed this? You know, there's the omnipotent camera, right? We've come to that. You read a novel, it's like, we don't go, who wrote this down? When novels first came out, you know, Robinson Crusoe, it ostensibly was a journal, so the person who wrote that was in the fiction. But we kind of got past that. So right now we're in an interesting place where initially your first reaction is, why would this character have a Twitter account? When in reality, Twitter is just kind of another medium to send the stuff out. You know, the Mad Men characters, they did kind of a fun thing having Twitter. And at a certain point, you don't care. You're like, oh, well, this is just an interesting new way to deliver content. Same thing we played around at Fourth Wall Studios with phone calls. It's like, well, does every phone call have to be a literal phone call? You know, no. So we played around with that going, what if I could hold this up to my ear and it's just basically we pretend, well, it's a speaker and now I can hear this person's thoughts in sync with what I'm watching on the screen, and it kind of throws a new dynamic into it, you know, where, you know, it's somebody whispering in your ear. It's not a literal phone call, or it's not a literal text message. There was a haunted one we did where that's easy. Haunted things are great because ghosts just do weird shit. You don't have to justify any of it, right? So it's like, oh, look, my phone. Now I look at it in sync and there's this ghostly finger writing words on my screen. You know, it's like, well, why does this ghost have an app? You don't say that, right? Right? So we're at the point, you know, we're transitioning right now. At first, it's a lot of that. It's hard to get past that, but when you think, well, we've gotten past that with film and novels, and so I think it's just another, yeah.
What's crazy interesting about that is that in much the same way we might not have originally thought about telephones and things as a medium, as a storytelling medium about 5 years ago. 5 years from now, I'm willing to bet you will say the exact same things about the Internet of Things, right? And so we may not be thinking about 3D printers and like the Wemo switches you get at any Apple store as storytelling media now, but within 5 years, this is the kind of stuff that will turn those into a storytelling medium.
See, I want to tell story on toast. I want to have a network toaster that I can toast some bread and have a clue come up when I hear words. That would be awesome.
You know,
using toast as storytelling. That's awesome. Come on. We've used stuff. We've used fireworks. We've used money. We've used, what else have we used? Projections on screen. We've used skywriting. You know, it's just kind of fun, huh? Food trucks, yeah, they've used food trucks for so really the sky's the limit. And because of the network ability of the audience now, I don't have to go to that food truck to hear about it and think it's awesome. You know, that's kind of the beauty of it. Did you have another comment?
I'm just wondering what the other side of the line is. So you're saying that it seems like people are very willing to suspend disbelief for the most part. What's the other side? What is the thing that you have tried and you're like, okay, that was too far. Take it back a little bit.
That's a great question. Nothing really comes to mind because your audience, at least my audience in the past, they're on your side, right? They're not like, oh, you know, I don't want to. Did you have an example of it?
Yeah. So do you remember in Boston when the Adult Swim guys set up the alien?
But that wasn't the public. That was the police.
True.
Right. And interestingly, I did an event in Boston the next year, and the police were great. You know,
did they learn their lesson the last year?
I had people running around Boston Commons in masks. You know, in Joker masks.
You are a brave man.
Yeah, and nobody said anything. And I thought, well, this will be interesting. And I thought, if I'm going to get arrested for the first time in my life, this is how I want to get arrested. But that's a great question. Right now, I mean, the thing is, if they're invested in you, they'll go with it. You know, maybe there will be some guys, and you know, there's always trolls, and there's always people that like to break things, going, no, this person wouldn't know, and they're trying to, email a character going, hey, I saw your thing on CBS.com. What are you doing the next episode? I saw that, you know, they're trying to kind of break that fourth wall, and it's just kind of fun to watch.
Insight on that level, I had an experience where I created a viral video for a web series that I did, and obviously it was meant to be fake, but I wanted to fool people. And thankfully I fooled probably 98% of the people, but there were the 1 or 2% who called it out as fake. But, thank God, I did it well enough where they said fake but awesome.
Well, good. Now, yeah, fooling people's tricky. Now that's a whole different topic. Fooling people, because most of the time, think about the times when you've actually kind of been duped. It kind of doesn't. It can't feel awesome, but that's usually the exception. Usually, you feel kind of pissed, right? If somebody hoaxes you, that's a fine line, right? Because I have seen hoaxing kind of techniques. Yes, in that case, I have seen that backfire. And people that are like, they feel used, they feel made to look stupid, but it's all about, how you pull it off. And so it's got to be very, you got to be very careful when you go to that.
Fake but plausible.
Fake but plausible. Well, see, that's the thing too, is if you put enough in there to make it, if they just dig just a little bit, they can find out it's fake.
Right.
But it's great to have that moment where they go, oh, is this real? And then they have to think about it, and you want to make it available that they can find out if it's fake, because really people, this whole idea about blurred lines and not knowing fiction from reality being cool, in reality it's not that cool, and people need to know, because for instance, if I'm playing something and they're like, hey, to answer this, to get the next piece of content, you need to hack into this character's email account. Well, if I know that's part of an experience, absolutely, I'm all over that, and I'm going to look at the sources. But if it's real, or if I think it's real, that's prison time. I do that, right? So you gotta know how to subtly, give guide rails. It's like the kids. They're better if there's a fence around them. Same thing with it's kind of a game design, experience design kind of thing.
In game studies, there's a term called the magic circle.
There you go.
If you Google that thing, and you'll get some really interesting thoughts.
Yeah. This has been good. This is good. I like this. The answer to the question of this talk is better. So better than my slides. I hate PowerPoint. And it doesn't turn off. There we go. Anything else? I think we're done. I think we're at the 50-minute mark.
Well, you can more because I have more.
You got more questions? Go for it.
Yeah, it seems like we've got a few people here who have good experience with the topic. I'm wondering, do you have any favorites? Do you have any resources where you go and find information? Like, is there a Mashable of Transmedia?
Oh, there's so many resources. If you just Google the word, it's just...
Well, I'm biased. I've got, ArgNet and unfiction.com.
Yeah.
But then, really, and I should say too, different projects have different audiences, and like with anything online you do, you need to find that audience. You need to figure out who your audience is and really target them. Gone are the days of you being able to just throw something out there and hope that it gets found and then grows. It's a lot better if you're doing something in the horror genre, or if you're doing something in there. Obviously, this is a rabbit trail, but because people play in different places. Reddit, is one. The big thing that just happened, Lizzie Bennett took place mostly on Tumblr. And YouTube. So, it really depends on, figure out who your audience is, figure out where they live online, and go let them play where they live. Don't ask them to come to this new place.
Or if you want to look at it from an academic level, you can always go to Henry Jenkins.
Henry Jenkins' Convergence Culture is
there you go.
Famous. There's actually a bunch of new books dropping left and right. Andrea Phillips has a new book called Transmedia Storytelling, which is much... So there's this weird distinction and debatable distinction of East Coast versus West Coast. Where East Coast... Yeah, so East Coast, the argument is more like ARG based, Arkham Alley game based, and West Coast is a little more like Star Wars. The distinction here is it's not the old, let's just license stuff, let's just make toys, let's just make lunchboxes or transmedia. No, it's not. More deliberate transmedia storytelling is using the same kind of hyperlink design that Steve is talking about, where you're actually very carefully crafting the threads for people to follow between stories. So that in Assassin's Creed 2 and 3, there's a whole lot of extensions going from multiple types of games. So from the main console games into the portable games, like you saw with Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Bloodlines, they continue the stories of those characters. Assassin's Creed is actually a fantastic example of a transmedia story.
Yeah, it actually, and that brings up the last point I'll make is that the part of the design that's just as important is where you're going to put the pieces is designing that kind of that connective tissue between the pieces. Make sure that that's designed in a good place, because every time you're asking your audience to go somewhere else, you're going to lose a bunch of them.
That's exactly right.
And so you need to mitigate that in your design, make it as compelling as possible, or as it's kind of like with Valve with some of the first-person shooters. where they bring you along this path, and then you end up, and they point you in the exact direction you need to be to see the next thing. You don't even realize it, but it's kind of these silent guide rails. So you need to design with that in mind. So make sure that people know what they're supposed to do next, or it's pretty obvious what they're supposed to do next, or you'll lose your audience. And you don't want to lose your audience. In the old days, novels, the biggest ask we ever asked for people is to turn the page, right? So every time you ask people to make a leap, that's turning page times 10. That's the new transmedia page turn, is making these, yeah.
On a related note, there was an earlier panel where they were talking about bridging from, and I just lost my train of thought. What were you saying? Say it again.
The connective tissue between...
The connective tissue, thank you. So the connective tissue between the payoff, essentially is the emotion. I think it was Jim Butcher, if I'm not mistaken, who was in that panel. And he was saying that you have the action, but then you have the reaction. And essentially the pages in between the action sequences are where the true emotion is for the audience. So there may be ways with transmedia where instead of being all gimmicky, like, oh, what's the next gimmick that we're going to discover? How do we bridge those gimmicks with some emotional content in between, whether it be Twitter or something else, to help us find our way to the next gimmick?
Yeah,
and that can make them more vested and emotionally resonant.
Yeah, it's almost like you almost have to think every little bit's got to have a little cliffhanger. You got to make them want to take that extra step, because that is active. So.
You have to make them want to take it, and you have to make it as frictionless as possible.
Yes. All right, I think I've held you up enough. This has been great. This has been fun. I hope you got something out of it. And thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thanks for coming.
Take care. I'll stay in touch.
All right. That's the question. I just fell into it. I was a musician up until 2001, and then I basically, kind of fell into it and made friends with people that produced them, and ended up literally just getting hired and designing and stuff. So it's more been like, on-the-job training.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Are there any companies you would recommend keeping an eye on?
We're in LA.
Yeah.
In LA, who's doing, like Ignition is doing some really interesting things. They're an ad agency. They're kind of the new sheriff in town as far as that kind of stuff goes. New York, places like Campfire. Who else?
Murata is supposed to be, but maybe not as much as they had the opportunity to be. Microsoft Studios also should be.
Keep an eye on them. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, maybe just.
Well, if you were here in the panel like right before, like for Blizzard,
Yeah, some of the game companies are doing really interesting things.
Well, yeah. Blizzard's impressive with Bread or Butter tonight. People are still playing StarCraft 1. People are still playing.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
It was so successful. League of Legends.
There you go. Oh, thank you. Thanks for coming.
It was really interesting.
Good, thank you.
It is wildly successful in its own right. Their bread and butter is being able to.
The what?
It's next year when the top focus on marketing.
Oh, thank you.
I love that panel.
That was on.
So our
or you mean the Blizzard
to
thing?
both like stuff or maybe set like kind of like
That was when I graduated college and I was like, I could find a job doing alternate.
Yeah, sure.
Media, multimedia
basically we're a
storytelling.
company, but we're very
And then I
open. Where like each of our employees are kind of like personalities in themselves. And
There's actually a fairly small.
Oh, nice.
I mean, there's a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Great.
This isn't my card. I gave it
Okay.
This is another guy after my version.
Okay, cool. All right, thanks. All right.
To find people. Google Futures of Entertainment, which is
Are you in
another
the
group.
OC or are you in LA?
Yeah, where are you at, man?
I'm in LA. I currently work at OC, so.
So
There's
Transmedia
Transmedia
LA.
LA. That's like a basic.
Oh, there's that. Yeah, Transmedia LA. And there's also Transmedia U.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gonna be teaching user experience. No.
Yeah, experience design.
Experience
But,
design in a few weeks.
Marine's doing writing.
First, yeah.
And
So
Ben
you-
will do producing, and then we've got a mystery guest coming. So we'll see how that goes. Flaky transmedia types.
Also, Story Forward, his podcast, is a great way to find out who the players are in the space.
You didn't plug that?
Good
good point.
This
What
is
the hell?
This is a problem I've realized. I always forget. We were just talking about it. JC and I were always talking about this. But we need to pimp the broadcast, the podcast more. But yeah, well,
It's fantastic. Story forward.
Story forward.
It's on iTunes.
Yes. Makes for great listening while you're stuck in traffic.
Well, we haven't done. We've been off for the summer, so we're gonna.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
that's why I haven't like thought of
Yeah,
it.
we're gonna tweak. We're tweaking the format a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, we're gonna. It's gonna be less about like the guests and their projects as opposed to. I think we're gonna make it more like just a topic and have people on that are interesting and just shoot the shit with them about. This
Oh,
thing
kind of
that's
like a little more like Nerdist.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah. That works really well.
I think so. I think so, and that way we don't feel like we're always having to, So tell us where to,
That's the best thing about them, yeah, because that was the distinction that they made, was as opposed to regular talk shows where somebody has to come on and just pitch the movie that they're talking
Right.
about.
Yeah.
They're just talking.
No, yeah, we want to find interesting people and bring them on. Yeah, we should have like people like you and people like
I can talk to people now.
Yeah.
I will. From under the cone of silence.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Doesn't that feel great?
Yeah. So I was at Microsoft Studios for the last 3 years, and so like I've worked on stuff like the Xbox One, smart glass, kind of. You can see a little bit of my fingerprints on Halo 4 Unto Dawn, that kind of stuff. You talk about Transmedia at Microsoft stuff. So this is the main distinction between Steve and I, is that Steve comes up from the very wicked DIY punk rock kind of ARG school of thought. I'm a little more, looking at how to make how to bring that same kind of thoughtful architecture of storytelling that Steve's talking about, and applying it to big Hollywood franchises. So things like Star Wars. So it's not just another novel, spin-off novel set in the universe, but to say like this novel actually has value. This is where the story goes. You can find these architect of experience paths through this kind of stuff. That's why I like Assassin's Creed, is because there actually is a lot of really intelligent thought that went into the spin-offs that they did, up to a point. I think it's been getting diluted.
Is that right?
But,
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's not.
yeah. Oh, crap. Thanks for coming, man. Those are great questions.
And the whole thing about the people wanting to help and like sort of helping.
It is kind of true.
It has a light.
We NPC.
You had to do motion to produce anything.
It might need to warm up for
And
No, I can live without. I can do it without too. I'm gonna get my notes. Okay. Oh no, it's a trick.
Now
it's on.
Okay, so we're good. It was up.
Yeah.
Now it's up. Mostly. And now that they've left, I can actually, hypothetically, move the laptop over to there without destroying anything. Of course, it's all hypothetical. Great. Do not want this to be on, but do not think this. Good. That's most important. Great. Time is it? 8:02. Do you think we should wait? People punctual at this place?
Not really.
Not really.
No.
I'll wait a while.
We'll wait just a bit. We'll do a lot of Q&A stuff, so.
Give it to 8:05, and then if people will trickle in if they want to trickle in.
I should help open the doors.
Yeah.
That seems to be a big teller.
Oh, that's cool, yeah. Hey, honey, would you get me a glass of water?
Yeah.
So you did?
And I think also over here.
No, I'm fine. Oh, just hide in the corner. Nice. This is far enough I'll have to decide. I think this is technically less stressful than presenting to my committee, so. So do either of you guys currently have a group, or you're looking to start a group?
I'm going to be starting a group probably.
Oh, cool.
I'm from Portland.
Oh, wow, very cool.
So my husband ran a band party for 8 years.
Oh, really cool.
And I want to do something not much like that.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I've been on multiple plot teams. I've run my own game. I'm looking to restart another game.
Cool.
And just going through and just seeing what other ideas other people have.
Cool. Very cool. So you guys are sort of on the story side. Hopefully I can think of stuff to help you guys out with. Definitely on the battle gaming side of it. I had a lot of success there. But I assume a lot of the principles for advertisements and things are probably similar.
Well, I imagine building a team is similar too, which is
I would
something I
think so.
haven't done yet. So
It is a really tricky thing to do, I think. Something I'm definitely still learning.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, most of us LARP-type people don't actually start off with the world's greatest social skills, generally speaking. It's more of a work in progress for a lot of us. It's taken me a long time.
That was one of the topics that came up in the earlier panel with Jeff Gomez. Is LARP as a kind of almost a support structure for all of us geeks and nerds and crazy people getting together.
It is.
And being able to express ourselves through LARP and through role play and actually kind of gain and build the social interaction experience.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. That's very good. Well, it's been 3 minutes. This might be it. But let's do it. At least you guys can hypothetically pick my brain and get some information.
Sure.
So, I am the Empress. Haha. This is Build Your Empire. I'm Anastasia Nagel, and I host a lot of events, and I've started a few groups. I've helped run a few groups, and so this is our talk today. I see. You could think it does this to me because I don't spend enough time. So I'm going to really quickly introduce myself. We're going to talk about why we want to start these types of groups. We're going to talk about how we start up a group from scratch, or how we can help grow a group. What some basics in advertising for groups might be, and what some examples of those advertisements might look like. Some intros on how to host events, and a lot of common mistakes, and maybe hopefully some recipes for success that would help you guys. And lastly, I'm going to talk a little bit about building a brand and a philosophy, because this is something I've just started to think about as I've been going through my own journey, learning how to make groups, learning how to get people together, learning how to run events, and really thinking about what it all means, sort of the bigger picture. So, why should you listen to this loud, crazy person? Okay? You're probably wondering why. I founded the successful Belagarth voting realm in 2 years. Belagarth is an international medieval combat society. For those of you who don't care, that's fine, but it's cool to belong to international societies. Voting is a good thing, democracy and stuff. And more importantly, my group On the Real is associated with UC Irvine. So I, despite being much older, have a team of undergraduates who run this organization out of UC Irvine, and I'm a graduate student there. And so I have the ability to use that university as a way to lure young people into what we do, which is very important. And so we've had that realm now. Oh, I should probably mention, in the corner, hiding in the shadows, is my husband. He is the co-founder and all the things for everything that I've done. So I'm sort of like the spokesperson, but he's sort of like the shadowy vizier in the background of the empire, helping with all of the day-to-day things. And so we started this group in 2007, and I want to say we're up to probably 100 active members. We've got 300 on Facebook, but that doesn't really mean anything. But yeah, I would say 100 active members, and practices of about 20 on average, and our high has been 65 at practice, not an event, just a practice. The thing I'm most proud about is growing our little group and our first event from 80 persons into a 380-person event. I did this in 5 years. It is the largest event in 2013 for our international society west of the Mississippi. So you got Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, and everything to the left is me. And that's what I've managed to do. And our event is called Battle for the Ring. And because you should never, ever bypass an opportunity for free advertising, you should go to that event. But I have been doing this for 12 years. since I was 19. I don't know, do math, don't do math. You know, these are my credentials. This is what I've been able to do. And I really believe that the reason why I've been successful is because of a very careful and deliberate philosophy going into it. Everything that I've done really goes back to just a couple simple little rules or different ways of thinking about what we're trying to do here. So what are we trying to do here? We're trying to build something. We're trying to build probably not just a little group or a LARP or a story, but in a way we're trying to get to a community. We're trying to create a community. And that's really what we do. Here we are, many different LARPers of all stripes, people who do, maybe they roll a dice to decide the outcome of conflicts, maybe they tap or they touch fight, or like my guys who can knock each other down and kick each other while they're down, so to speak. All of us have a joy and a love for doing this activity, for being with each other, for being part of a larger community. And, you know, to start a group, well, you need at least one other person, obviously. I was fortunate. My husband and I literally were by ourselves in a park on UC Irvine campus, outside of the library, for all of the practice times that we posted, and we stayed there by ourselves until people walked by and we could invite them to play. We started from literally nothing to what we have today, the largest event basically on the western half of the United States. So you need at least one other friend. The more people you can have, if you are looking to recruit for people, the better. 3, they say, you know what, 2's something, 3's a crowd, or 3's a party, or something like that. So you want to have maybe 3, 4 people, and that can really help you recruit. 2 people is good. 1 person might look a little desperate. So bribe a friend, hire actors, doesn't matter. Don't look desperate, find a buddy for this. And you know, you want to go play somewhere. And why are we doing this? This is the most important thing. Take this home today. We're doing this because we want to have fun. And if at any point it's not fun, it's probably not going to be fun for anybody who's working with you either. It really needs to stay fun for you. And so whatever you need to do to make that true, make that true. Because that aspect of it is going to bleed through into all your other actions. And that's what people are going to be able to see. So that's very important. So starting the group, so choosing the time and location. So I'm just going to, these are the things I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to talk about them for roughly, 10 minutes, and then I'm going to let you guys basically ask me questions so I can try to help you with your particulars if that's possible. So choosing the time and the location. I'm based in Southern California. You can't you can accidentally step backwards onto a LARP group. You wouldn't, they're right behind you. They're right in front of you. They're left and right of you. It's really important if you're starting up in a group in an area that does have a lot of groups, you want to choose a time and that isn't going to conflict with other groups, because you might at some point want to have some of those people who are in a different group also be in your group. And because we are part of a larger community, you're not just competing with your neighbors. We are part of a larger community. That's what WeirdCon is about. You do need to make nice with other groups. Even if you have some sort of rivalry, like so-and-so stole your girlfriend or whatever, you got to put it aside. You got to do it for the community. Pick a time that's not going to have any conflicts. And it's a really good idea to pick a time if you do have a core group of people who are going to help you on your storytelling team or with your leadership or setting up props, that this time works for a lot of your core people. So if you can't be there, you get sick, you've got people who should be able to run things. And so that's what it really should be based on, is getting sort of like a leadership core and getting them to meet at a time. In terms of locations, since a lot of you guys are on the storytelling bunch, you probably don't have to worry about accidentally maiming people all the time and have to worry about getting insurance the way that I do, or worry about the public parks people saying, oh my God, they've got weapons, draw your guns, So, but if you were to have, say, props that might look dangerous or that could be actually dangerous, it might be important for you to contact local authorities if they're like park rangers or city hall for a park. You might want to consider contacting them. There's also another kind of good rule, which is it is better to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission, which is that generally you can use public spaces. If someone comes up to you and says, hey, you kids can't do that around here, not that we're kids anymore, but you can always say, being grown up, oh, I apologize, this is a public space and we were using it for public purposes. I didn't know. Could you please tell me who I should contact about using this space? always be professional, always be friendly, always do everything they ask you to do. Don't give them guff, and don't make them love you. But you're going to always be around. Like, you're so nice to them, but maybe you're taking up a lot of their time, and then maybe it would be easier if they just gave you what you want, which is to play on the buck. And so, always be pleasant, always be professional, but be persistent. And, you know, we do have rights to public space. It's great, you know, belonging to an international organization, I get to use things like, well, of course, our international nonprofit, and then that sort of thing right there can help open up doors. Maybe you don't have access to that, but you can point out that other people do. You don't have to say you're associated with them, but, you know, well, this is an activity that, you know, is, you know, internationally known, or it's an activity that people do everywhere. Storytelling and live theater, why not, right? Anything you can use. The people at WeirdCon really are good at choosing words that make things very accessible to them in terms of storytelling, live theater, all sorts of things that no one would really say no to. And so that's how you can kind of book those locations. And lastly, you don't want to lie to a venue. This is very important, especially if you're going to do what I do, which is pretty much full contact martial arts. We don't pretend that we're tapping each other, and we don't pretend we're doing something that we're not. We provide them with video. We explain to them our emphasis on safety. We try to make it look as good as possible, but in the end, we're not pretending to be anything we're not. This is very important for their insurance. It's very important if you have to carry insurance. And it'll be incredibly important if anything ever goes wrong and you get sued, because the worst thing that could happen is you would get sued and you've told some fibs. And you know, it's going to look really bad for you, especially if negligence is something that they're going to be thinking about or tossing around. Hopefully that will never happen to anybody. Lessons in the fun of heavy combat groups. Let's see. So that's basically the stuff for times and locations. Anybody have any questions or anything about that they would like to know about?
What kind of things do you say when you contact the local police and be like, hey, we're going to be eating each other up in a park?
Yeah, so first of all, don't contact the police. So this is a fantastic question. Don't contact the police. Although if the police ever come by, be so incredibly nice to them. If they drive by, stop and wave. UC Irvine Police was always kind to us in the beginning. When I practiced in New Haven at Yale, we actually had cops while we were on the street, a very crowded street with many thousands of people out. We actually had cops say, over the PA of their cop cars, drop the weapons. And we're like, ha 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 ha, drop the weapons now. We're like, oh crap. And so we throw everything down and we're like this. And then we hear, ha 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 ha. And then they drove away. So, you know, cops are cops, but always be nice to them because you need them on your side. It may be important, so our group has archery. Certain types of things may be banned in certain places. Things I can think of off the top of my head, archery can be a no-no in certain cities. Obviously, anything that looks like firearms could be a no-no. A lot of times things like nunchucks and tonfas and other sort of strange, other types of weapons where the action is like a punching action, especially like nunchucks, these are like very illegal weapons in certain states. I know. I don't know if their foam counterpart is, but if the real one and the foam one are probably going to look incredibly similar, something to keep in mind. So it's good to look at local rules and regulations with regards to your props and things like that.
Those are lockpicks as well.
Oh yes, that's a really good one. Yeah. So something like that I wouldn't even think of. So it's good if you are thinking about different kinds of props. It doesn't matter if it's not the real thing, but if it looks like it, it's something to consider. In terms of booking a venue or practicing in a public park, what you probably want to do is go through something related to City Hall or a regional parks group or something like that. And just make buddy with whoever you talk to on the phone when you're trying to find out who you're actually supposed to find. But like I said, most of us generally have access to these public spaces. Very few, usually people only come up to you to tell you to get lost if you've done something kind of naughty.
Yeah, but in terms of introducing yourself, hey, I'm part of a group, we do live theater, games, we were interested in using your park as a venue, here's information, a link to a website, here's other people who do it, here's a video. Just give them information so that they understand what you're doing.
And for the love of God, whatever you do, don't call your equipment weapons.
Yeah.
If you do use props like that, they are padded sports equipment. And you get used to always saying when you talk to the other grown-ups what you do involves sports equipment, padded sports equipment. Simulated combat is a good one. Nerf, if they don't understand what you're talking about, this phrase kind of opens doors with like, well, you know, it's like Nerf equipment. And they're like, oh yeah, Nerf with the kids. Okay, I got it. You know, and so you want to choose your words very carefully. Write a script beforehand if you got to talk to some official. Get it polished and be super friendly. In terms of advertising for your group, I do have a few examples. Oh yeah, this. It's gonna. Okay, so this is actually a copy of my business card that I currently use. I love business cards. Vistaprint has excellent deals on business cards and banners and everything under the sun. I love business cards because they're easy to hand out to people. They trap them inside of their wallets, and it's like a curse that they have to keep looking at until they throw it away. And we get them, thousands of them every year, and distribute them. With our business cards, we make sure to have all of the information on them. Organization name, the location, we do our practice times, and kind of going back to the times, our practice times haven't changed in 7 years. Anybody who has a card from 7 years ago, that card is still accurate. Choose your, if this is the way you're going to go and you're going to do business cards, choose everything very carefully. And because the nice thing is, this could be around and out floating in the ether forever, and people still come because they say, I saw a friend who had one of your cards, or something like that. I have my cell phone on there. People often try to find practices. If you're at a secluded park or going for some sort of scenic place, they can have trouble finding it. Having a contact phone that you know is going to be at practice fairly often can really help people get to you. And if you're going to get new people, you so desperately want them to make it out to you so that you can talk to them. That's really the most important thing.
And this is something we'll probably talk about, but when you recruit new people, their first experience at their first time seeing you will determine whether they ever come back or not. So making sure you're there, making sure they can find you, and making sure they have something fun they can do even though it's their first day will all be super important.
This is probably the most important thing. Sometimes people will use their personal email on their cards or for their adverts. Don't. Just come up with an email for your group and really try to check it. Every time I haven't checked it, there's always something there, and I'm like, wow, that was a missed opportunity that I blew because I didn't look at this for a week or something like that. Business cards are also great. Like, for some reason, we've been extras in movies, and all sorts of weird opportunities have come up because of stuff like with business cards and web presence. If you have a strong web presence, a lot of our success has been because of a strong web presence. So we spam a lot of message boards. The thing is, let's say you're doing a vampire LARP. You can there's a lot of places you can still advertise that on other people's pages. So like my international sport has an other groups, other activities thing. If you ask permission, probably could post there. And that's probably true for many types of online things. And you do that 30 times, and probably only 2 people are going to look at it from each one. But if you combine that with actually visiting a group or a practice and say, hey, can I make an announcement about my little thing I'm running? If you're friendly about it, most people are like, sure, yeah, whatever. And then, you know, the online stuff, the business cards, and the word of mouth, and eventually you really do get something rolling over time. And the word of mouth, this is what we do. This is very important. So it's a you have to be very careful about how you do it. You always want to be friendly, especially talking with other groups. But you know, hey, if you let me talk about my thing, you come over and you can talk about your thing anytime you want. And usually that'll get most people on board with it.
Yeah. One of the things is right now geek culture is very splintered in some ways. You'd be surprised if you go to anime club at your local college, how many people there didn't know there were LARPs in the area and would love to do that, because they're the same type of people drilling down into different tiny things that they're focused on.
Yeah.
So there's meetup.com where lots of groups advertise that you can advertise on. Look for local RPG, GA, Friday Night Magic, anything where the type of people that might do our things congregate and
Anime, cosplay.
Yeah.
You know, the heavy fighter guys. Every so often we have people in our group who are like sad about getting hit and beaten down, and they really wish they could just tell a nice story and be a strong warrior, but not actually, you know, have to deal with a 300-pound guy bearing down on them and knocking them over. So, and I think that's the important thing with geek culture, because we do have this problem of not having this huge sense of community. I think we have a responsibility, which is that maybe you see somebody and you're like, you know, Brutus here seems to really like knocking people down and hitting them a lot. Of course, I'm running a dice game, so maybe I should direct him over to those Bellegarde kids. Or we get somebody and we're like, you know, you're not really fit, you know, for heavy combat. Then, you know, we should be passing those guys back over to the people who want to do the storytelling or the tap games or anything like that.
Gentle, this game might be better suited for you.
Yeah.
You're getting hurt a lot, or you're getting bored a lot.
Exactly. And word of mouth is this is what's so important for us. So, you know, and if we start to build that idea of reciprocity up between all of the groups, it's going to help. Because I think one of the biggest problems that happens is that people try a group, and you can imagine the diversity of all of the groups that we have. And all, you know, from even just combat-wise, let alone all the other things. You know, the themes and different ways of storytelling. You know, you think about that. Somebody might try a LARP and not like it and then not come back, when there's so much that there's got to be something for them. And the fact that they would try it in the first place means that they probably do belong in the community. They just haven't found that little spot that they're supposed to be in. So really, you know, help everybody out by trying to get people to the right spot and network with all of your other groups. You'll see here I've got a QR code. I think it's just QR. You just Google search free QR code. You can get this for any of your websites or probably your Facebook page. You can pay money if you want to dibs it. I didn't pay money, and 2 years out, the QR code still works just fine. People think they're cool. I don't know if they use them, but they do think they're cool. I have this one on the back of my business card. I usually have my big event as a QR code on the back of my business card. So if they QR it, they'll see my event, and they'll get the event information.
And also our banners has the QR code
Yeah.
that you can read from, you know, 50 feet away with your phone if you're passing by.
So this is one of our banners. This is one of our road banners. So this banner, the idea would be that we would play in a public park, and the text is so huge, anybody driving by a major road can read it. Hopefully they're not QRing it as they drive by, but maybe if they're walking by they are. So the message is large, it's to the point, this is free medieval fighting. That's what you get to do. And they'll be seeing us because we'll be near it. Everyone is welcome, equipment is provided. What this message is overall, what does it say? This is an accessible thing you can do for fun. How easy is it to do? Well, everyone is welcome and equipment is provided. Okay, well, it's pretty easy to join. A lot of people, especially people in the LARP community, are worried about sort of making that first contact with groups, and they can be very shy. Well, I don't really have the right clothes, or I don't really have, you know, protective gloves, or I don't really know anybody there. In a way, as a group leader, one of your responsibilities is to really go the extra mile to like lure those people in. And usually, once you get those people in, they'll be very grateful that you made the effort, and they can be very loyal because of it. And so this is really just us trying to say, like, no, really, it's okay for you to come up to us and play this game. We want to see you, and we're going to be your friends. And once again, your number one advertising weapon is you. Their first interaction, it matters a lot. If they come up to your banner and they're just sitting here kind of watching to see what's going on, and nobody says anything to them, they're going to walk off and they are never going to come back. You know, you've got to almost have, it's almost creepy, because it's like you're recruiting for a cult. But it's true, and you got to be like, "Hi, I'm so-and-so. Do you want to try this out?" And they'll be like, "Well, I don't know." "Well, that's okay. Maybe just watch for a while." And like, whoop, zip off. And if they stay around, you can be like, "So, do you want to try it out?" You don't want to be too nuts and like sell it really hard, but you want to make it clear they can try it. You know, they're welcome to it, or, you know, watch whatever. if people are taking, like, depending on what kind of LARP you're doing, sometimes people will take a lot of video, take pictures of you. You might even have crowds of people taking pictures of you. That's okay. Wave to them. They're like, hey, you want to try it? They'll usually be like, no, and you'll be like, yeah, it's okay, and then just leave it be. But, I really think that, any exposure, at this point, it's surprising how many people don't know that this is out there. I always find that to be strange.
Where do you get those banners printed?
I got those banners printed from Vistaprint. They can do the vinyl banners. Our banners are huge. I want to say they're 6 feet long
At least, yeah.
and 3 feet wide. They're really big. There's all sorts of fancy things you can do if you want to spend a bunch of money. You can get cheaper ones made out of flimsier materials. I've really grown to love Vistaprint over the past year. If you want to be corny and you guys like your storytelling, I have Underreal Realm stationery. If you want to really go nuts, so like if I'm right, so like San Diego has a group and we have a fake rivalry with them. I've always thought about using the Underreal stationery to be like, dear Andor, because we're Underreal, you suck. Sincerely, Underreal. And like wanted to do the Monty Python coconuts. Gallop up, hand them the message from the messenger, await the response, have them pen it, and send it back via coconut. So hosting an event. So I've hosted very large events. I suppose some of this is true also for small events. You want to choose a time and a location. Don't want to lie to your venue. You want to pick a time that doesn't conflict with other events. This matters especially based on what you're trying to do. I'm running a national event. It would be extremely bad for me to intentionally conflict with a regional event or another national event. I picked January because I'm in Southern California, and that's a great time to hold an event because nobody else can. So the only person who can conflict with me is Texas and Florida. Well, they're very far away. So at that point, I don't have to feel bad, even if I do have it on the same day, although I still don't. Event advertisement, I have found the most successful way to advertise to your event is to go to places, be friendly with people, play their game, and invite them, and ask them to try it out. Over the years, we have probably visited, 12 to 20 groups a year to do this. Any kind of group. The reason why we're at WeirdCon is because WeirdCon is one of the groups that we pester to get people to come to our event. We've, the anime clubs, the cosplay clubs, and we've picked up a couple people here and there, and they bring a couple more friends, and every year they have a good time because you've got a good product and you're friendly people, and you're doing a good job, and they bring more people, and they bring more people, and they bring more people, and that's why we're at 380. It really is about that philosophy. Don't be mean to people. Be welcoming. Have people come and try this out, because all of us have a game that is fun. And if you are just welcoming to people, you don't try to shoo them away, you're not trying to be exclusive, you're not cooler than thou, that's what you need to be is, as a group leader, you're going to become the cool kid of your new community, of your new group. You have a responsibility and you get to make a choice. Now that you're the cool kid, are you going to have your own little insular clique? And these are going to be the cool people, and then there's the other people who aren't as cool, but they're trying to be like you. You're going to give them a rough time, like, oh, I can swing my sword so much harder than you, or my clothes are so much cooler than yours. You can be that way, like jerks in high school or whatever, or you can say, you know what, that's just not the way it's going to be. We're going to have a different kind of community. We're not going to tolerate that kind of behavior from anybody. We're going to be nice to each other. We're going to treat everybody like adults. And we're going to get along. And we're going to play this game. And that it's surprising the extent to which the other attitude is pervasive in many cultures, that being exclusive or whatever. But I can tell you, as a person who has rejected that culture from my own sport, that I have benefited immensely from having this positive, encouraging counterculture movement. And it's taken us farther and farther every year because of it. So event organization, so building up a team. Oh, I wish I had more on this than I do. What I seem to have found is that if you start off with small events, you want to just give people small tasks. Have a backup plan, but give people small tasks and see if they can get it done. Always be respectful to your staff, whether they get it done or they don't. If they don't get it done, don't ask them to do any more things and just carefully get them off of staff, okay? If they ever ask why, just be direct and just say, well, I really need you to do X, Y, and Z, but I know things came up and you couldn't get it done, but I really need somebody who can do X, Y, and Z, and so I picked Jason, and he's going to head up that team now. It is tough, depending on what you ask for. I've had a lot of people not pull through for me. But you just want to keep trying, give people tasks, keep giving them tasks, give everybody a task, and see who can get it done. And as those people get it done, give them, move them up, so to speak. Give them stuff that requires a little bit more responsibility. And hopefully, you'll go through this process, you'll find out who's reliable, but you'll also train people into being reliable. In our group, we train people to be referees. We have a lot of programs that train people how to do this. Maybe you have somebody who's interested in storytelling. You could have us, training people to do storytelling day, or have them do a subset of something. I really have an idea that would be cool, and you're like, you know what, that's great. Let's try that. You don't give them the whole day or the whole practice, but you give them a small section of something.
And just for testing people, it can be as simple as, hey, here's $5. Could you bring 2 bags of potato chips to next week's meeting? And that's silly, but it will tell you if that person does things when they're asked to do them or not.
Yeah. Then start small. I started with one of my friends. I asked him to bring a table to an event, and he did not. And although it took me a few more table attempts to figure out that he wasn't one of my guys that I could go to, that's basically what it started with. Was just something really simple. The backup plan was to use a shield on a trash can, because my shield's made out of wood, so we still had it. Reciprocation and community building, I've touched on this a little bit. Help people out in your community. Maybe you don't like the activity that I do, or maybe I don't like the activity that you do, but I can find people who like this and send them your way, and you can do the same for me. And because in the end, WeirdCon, this is what it's all about. We're all part of the same type of community, no matter what we're doing. This has helped me unbelievably. There's so many people who come to Battle for the Ring who started off in different types of LARPs or non-combat LARPs or Nerf guns, and why would anyone who plays Nerf guns come to a heavy combat boffer sport? I have no idea, but for some reason it has actually worked. Just be friendly with people, and you don't have to bring it up all the time, but just like, hey, cool, come on by. So guidelines for success. If you're interacting with a venue, I really feel like what makes an event a good event versus a bad event, or a good group versus a bad group, is thinking about what you want to have, kind of going into it, and trying to predict the future, what's going to go wrong. There are certain things that are always going to go wrong with groups. There's going to be interpersonal drama. How are you going to deal with that? You should probably think of what you're going to do ahead of time. If you don't, you run the risk of maybe Susie is a better friend to you than Janie, and Susie gets a buy and Janie feels like nobody likes her because Susie's getting preferential treatment. Whereas if you just have some sort of policy ahead of time, you don't have to even write it down necessarily. As a group leader, you can leave some things mysterious. You can be a benevolent dictator. The one thing I've learned after running a group is that democracy is highly overrated and not necessarily a good form of government for different types of things. It can be, but think about what you want, what's going to happen if something goes wrong. Maybe if you're running an event, it's what happens if you have food there and the food doesn't get done. What's your backup plan? What happens if for me, I have porta potties. What happens if the porta potties, something bad happens to the porta potties? What is your backup plan? And so you want to try to think really outside the box. Try to predict the future for all sorts of weird things that could come up. And that's the main thing with event organization. So right now, for example, when I'm trying to plan my big event, I'm doing things like laying out my site in my head. I have a map from Google Maps, satellite images, and I'm saying, I'm going to put the vendors here because I want a row of vendors going from where our check-in building is to where our fighting field is, and I want there to be a formal alleyway. And so people can go from the building where they check in all the way to the fighting field, and there'll be vendors all along the way. And I'm like, you know, well, that would be really cool. A lot of times vendors have period camps. That looks great for me in my event. But what do vendors also need? Well, they like to camp behind their wares because they're worried about people taking their stuff. So then I have to make space for the vendors to camp behind their wares. And I have, you know, other site particulars that I have to think about, like there are RV campers nearby. Our people are loud and obnoxious and drink a lot and drum and belly dance and do weird things. So main fire is going to be really far away from the RV sites. So it's things like that, thinking sort of about what could go wrong. Noise can go wrong, alcohol can go wrong, having medics, if you're doing large events, medics and security. This event has medics and security. And there, you know, it's nothing like the type of event that I have. I don't think anybody drinks here the way that they drink at my events. And, you know, honestly, my events stay pretty incident-free considering all of the actual beatings we're allowed to dish out to people and all of the enormous amounts of drinking that tends to go on at these things. But we have a lot of planning that goes into it ahead of time, where we watch people and we try to figure out what's going on.
Well, and I imagine the community reinforcement of don't be jerks to each other goes a long way.
I'm not, unfortunately, though I do have this philosophy in brand and we do push it, there is also a healthy other thing in my lovely society, which is the let's be jerks to each other. So, you know, you never know. There's always something. That's why it's good. But, you know, that's something that I can predict. Make sure that I have security people. And if I know somebody's going to come to the event who's like, hey, you know, so-and-so is coming to the event, I have a list of people that I give to my security staff. These are not banned people. I don't think I've ever banned anyone from my events. They are people to watch quietly.
But another thing is you can have a large influence on your community in terms of that stuff. One of the things we did at our event that we think helped a lot is when people come and register for the event and show up the first day, we say, is this your first national event? Is this your first big event? And if they say yes, we hand them a pouch. And in the pouch are like 5 gold coins and instructions that say, if someone does something nice for you, if someone helps you, if someone shows you how to fight or lends you a weapon or whatever, hand them one of these gold coins and tell them to hold on to it. And at the end of the event, 3 days later, we asked who here, has been given gold coins, who has the most, and the people with the most got a prize and recognition for helping new people and being nice. So if you think carefully, and for a storytelling event, that might instead be, someone who included you in their plot line so you had something to do, or someone who let you do something exciting instead of just sort of wandering around looking for a thread of plot to join in. You can reward the people who help new people, and that's really important for making them come back again.
Getting new people to come to your event is the greatest way to solidify that relationship with them. For me, every person I get to come to Battle for the Ring, I have guaranteed that person is going to practice sword fighting at some location. It is a recipe for success that is so amazing that I usually just say, hey, just come on by, come check the event out. And if I can get them there, you can literally see their eyes go whoop, boom, and their head is totally exploded, and they're like, wow, this is a really cool thing. Numbers, costumes, the scenery, these things can have such a powerful impact on us. I remember my first event so vividly. It was right after watching Lord of the Rings 2 Towers, and we have goblin-y people in our sport. They had their goblin kings on wooden platforms. They had slaves underneath those platforms. They were chained to underneath the platforms. They were attractive women that the goblins had rounded up from the camps, and these were wailing women tied to the platforms. They had a giant drum, and they were beating it with bones that they had. They had fire breathers. They were breathing fire as they were bringing their goblin kings and queens out onto the field on these platforms. And all I could hear was this boom, 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 and you can see the platforms swaying with the Goblin King on it. He's got bones all over him, and skins, and pelts, and deer skulls, and crazy stuff. And I couldn't see what was carrying him. I just saw the trees and him swaying and this boom noise. And I swear for like a second I thought, oh my God, they got elephants for this? This is amazing. And then it came out around and I got to see the slaves and everything. But I was just like, we don't even have role-playing officially in our sport. I was like, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And it was true.
15 minutes, sweetie. Was there any questions?
So yeah, common mistakes, especially for things like events. You really want to make sure that when people come to your event, you've got everything organized, you know what's going to happen, you don't waste their time, you've got something planned for them. This is especially true for storytelling things. Common mistakes for storytelling groups that I've kind of been around, groups where they're trying to get something set up or they're trying to explain things, but they haven't quite got it pinned down enough that there's a long delay. If you've got fighters in your group, this makes them very antsy. It can make people leave. You need to have it done. You need to have it very well rehearsed in your head, and your explanation for what's going to happen needs to be simple. It might be good to go over it with a friend. Some of you guys have plot devices that are important. You don't want somebody saying, well, what if I do this? And you're like, ooh. You want to have that sort of troubleshot so that you don't get torn apart by those people who ruin all the games with their cleverness.
In general, if someone is unable to play the game because of a failure to get things started or address an issue for more than 5 minutes, they'll have a pretty bad experience and start being less engaged and enjoy the event a lot less.
Yeah.
So even it's better to do something half-assed than to wait 20 minutes to get something really good, because something half-assed can still be really fun if the people you have are good, and you can probably be implementing what you needed while you're starting it.
Yeah, I think that's really important.
Waiting for it to be perfect often just kills the experience.
Yeah, keep things moving. That's one of the most important things. So this is all going back to that building of philosophy. I have made my living, so to speak, not that there's any living in this, obviously, on community building, on emphasizing community, whatever the sport is. Bellegarth is actually very anti-LARP. You see, we've got our orcs, and we have our goblins, we have our kobolds, we have our knights, but we're not LARPers. That's just not what we do. And every time I hear them say that, I'm just like, okay, I guess you're LARPing a character that really hates themselves. So don't put other groups down. It will never benefit you. You can really only talk people up, or not talk people up if you don't think it's worth other people's time. Having this philosophy of being inclusive, of having excellent customer service, because even if this isn't really a business transaction, even if there's nothing transactional about it, you are still, in a way, selling people an experience. Their time is valuable to them. And that's very important to always keep in mind. And you want to give them something, you want that time to be filled with really good and meaningful experiences, positive experiences. In Southern California, if I'm not doing a good job, they've got the beach, they've got skiing, they've got skateboarding, they can go do anything they want other than my sport. I have to be absolutely clear and confident and friendly to get them to stay with me. I have to really offer them something. And depending on where your location is, that may or may not be true. But for the most part, we need to be nice to people and we need to be inclusive. We have really used this brand, this philosophy to build our community. Not only do we have this strong philosophy at our own event because of the way that we treat new people, we give prizes for best honor. Any group that have an honor component to your sport, sportsmanship, this general concepts, which I'm sure has to come up in storytelling, the creativity, whatever you want to see in your game, in your sport, whatever. You should be rewarding that. You should be recognizing people for it in a public way. You say, oh, Jim, that character that you played yesterday, that was really just amazing. I really liked when you did this. You really put a lot of time and effort into that. You're fantastic. And other people will see that and they will want to strive for that. You don't have to we can encourage the things we want to see and get that out of our communities, basically. We've noticed, since we've been going to an event called Chaos Wars up in Idaho, that our culture is rubbing off on them. They've recently started doing things like, I think we need like a team of people who are around to teach people the ropes if they're new to this event. I think we should have like a squad of those people who like help them and tell them what's expected of them and tell them what's expected of them culturally at an event. And so they've been doing that. They've been making guides for, hey, it's your first Chaos Wars. This is what you should expect. And that's stuff that we've been trying to do for years and really trying to push that stuff. They've been giving more prizes to new people. Some of us, like me, I've been in the community for forever, in my community. It's time for me to not win prizes anymore. I'm here, and this is what I do. I'm not going anywhere. But if so-and-so is new, you can say, you did a great job in the field today. You killed all those Romans or whatever. Here's a sword for having good honor and for having practiced that swordmanship skill and doing a good job. This sort of thing makes people be like, and then they're like so into it. So keep that in mind. Reward those new people. New people are your future. If you don't have any, that's your future. We do this because we want to have a group of friends, and we want to keep doing this because we want to have our friends. But our friends can move away, they can get married, they can have kids, they can get a new job. Things like that can happen. It's always good to have a recruitment strategy for getting people in, and it also keeps you from getting too insular. Because you don't want to have this hobby die off for you. And that can really happen if you make it just about a small core group of friends. You could still do that, but I'm just saying it puts you in a threatened position, a risky position. You're like an endangered species. You've got enough now to keep it going, but you lose a couple more rhinos and that's it for you. So that's pretty much it. Let's see. Come on, you. Okay, see what you want clearly and go for it. This was the background picture all along. This is me yelling. I do that often when I'm fighting. Ironically, this is my arch nemesis in the armor next to me, and we are fighting together against a common enemy. Because we belong to the same community, and even though we don't agree, we hold different opinions, we are still playing the same game, doing the same thing, being a part of the same community. So now you guys can ask me all sorts of questions. Any questions you like?
My first question is, what kind of, do you have any issues with you being a woman, particularly in this kind of thing? Has that come up?
As a heavy combat woman, it has come up. Less so for me than for others. I am really mean on the field. This guy called me a lot of not so nice names that are reserved for women. I knocked him down. He's like 6'4", and he's a really large, ogreish man. Not all women. Force is not necessarily the answer, however. In this case, I am sort of like, I don't know, I'm probably a guy trapped in a girl's body or something. Like, if we were both rams and we both had antlers, we would just do this all day until one of us was dead. And that's pretty much what I'm like, personality-wise. However, force doesn't have to be the answer. I think that if you're always professional, if you prepare everything that you're going to do ahead of time, and if you ignore that sort of thing, or if it's really blatant, call it out. But in a calm way, and explain that there's no place for that in our community. There's no place for that as professionals. I think that that's the best that you can do. And there are always going to be people like this. There are always going to be jerks. This guy's actually come around. He likes me now, but boy, for about 3 years, he was just the worst.
Yeah. And it's worse, even if someone has done something that really is, patronizing or unacceptable, it's worse trying to think about, what culture they come from, what they're used to, what they think is normal. Very few people do things that they think is outrageously rude and inappropriate. They do things that they think is normal. And you can often, if you have a good group with a good culture and someone is joining that group and that culture, you can often, sort of shock them when they see that what they're doing is not accepted and re-educate them while they're with you on how they should behave, as long as you're sort of kind. Call out what they're doing, explain why that's not okay here, that we don't appreciate it.
Avoid shaming them or making it fun.
Exactly. Invite them to join the new culture that they're becoming a part of. Invite them in.
Yeah, and my favorite saying is the proof is in the pudding. They told me I was going to ruin Bellegarde. that I was going to change it into something, I don't know, who knows what, and that I would never be successful. And when I had my first event, it was much larger than their events, and it's become the largest event now. Proof is in the pudding. If I'm doing it wrong, I can't be successful. So my way of dealing with enemies' criticism is to be much, much better, bigger, stronger, and nicer than my enemies. Nicer being key, because it wouldn't work if I was a jerk about it. I could tell you guys about it, but when I talk to them about it, the way I phrase things is very different. I'm like, oh, you know, we're all in it together. And in my head, I'm like, I will dance upon your grave, you know. But keep that to yourself, and always remember to have fun.
Yeah.
Even if you do hold those dark feelings.
Earlier you mentioned vendors. Are those like actual vendors selling things for real world money, or are they in-game vendors?
For me, these are real vendors.
Okay.
If you have people with expensive demonstration equipment, this may also be true for you, though. I've seen a lot of really lovely things in the storytelling world, but you know, you do have to help people protect their assets, and you know, you just have to think about anything that could come up and try to predict for that stuff. You know, if you have an event with real vendors, it can be kind of a headache. If you have things done with barter, the cities and municipalities don't care. If you are dealing with cash and it's real people with like actual, like maybe they have an internet store or something, a lot of times cities are going to want permits and things like that. California is the worst. It's got to be the most complicated and litigious of all the states. I still managed to navigate it. You just give yourself enough time to find out everything you need to. Government officials are usually very friendly. If you talk to them before there's a problem, what you need to do ahead of time. So I'm already talking to the city of Chino many months ahead of my event, and I started talking with them the year before when I was doing the other event. So most of those people are going to help you out. If you act like a professional and you act like you do deserve or you're entitled to the space like any other professional group, generally I found that most people will treat you as a professional. And I've never had anybody say, well, I don't know about that. If they just say, well, I'm a little bit worried about blah, you provide them with you know, information that they need, and generally they're pretty cool with it. So. Any other questions?
So you have practices and you have events, right?
Yes. So we have a very large athletic component to the game that we play. So we have practices, and practices are pretty chill.
We meet twice a week. Many groups meet once a week, and that's just because we're a combat game. It's just simple combat training, playing games that are fun for a couple hours. And then we have occasional events that are all day, or ours is 3 days in a row, and those are big deals. You know, people bring out their costumes and their garb. People get in their units and do their wars and territorial stuff, and those are more storytelling and more intense. But we meet, you know, every week just so that people feel a part of the community in an ongoing way. It's pretty simple, not a lot of preparation for it.
Well, it sounds like for the events, it's anyone can walk up and partake. You just teach them how to do it safely, I assume.
Yeah.
For our event, for
our practices.
For our practices, yeah. For events, we have the costuming rules and things like that.
That was my next question.
We have about 20 persons worth of loaner garb. We do not advertise our event to the public currently. However, we do have people from the public who find out about the event anyway, and then will show up without equipment to use and without costuming. I can provide up to 20 persons worth of costuming, and I can provide 40 to 60 persons worth of sports equipment. And part of the reason is that like if you bring a sword and maybe it's not up to par, it's a little bit broken down. You know, I can lend you one of mine, which is really awesome and really new because I just made it. And you'll know I care about safety, but you'll also know I care about you because I'm giving you a nice sword to use. So that's something that we care a lot about. The ease at which people can join your practice or event or story is very important to consider. You really don't want to create barriers for people. I just don't think there's any, I mean, you want to, if they're there, you just got to reduce them as best you can and keep it to be a pleasant sort of experience for people. But I've never told people, like, you can't play this game because you're not wearing the right clothes and you don't have the right gear. I find them what they need to be able to play. And they're usually very appreciative of that effort. So, Any other questions?
What kind of weapons do you use?
Ah.
Like what's the core, I guess, is the big one. And
Mm-hmm. The longer weapons are made with band shot poles. These do not break. They're excellent. They are slightly heavier. Most of the smaller swords are made with half-inch solid or not solid fiberglass. They can be hollow. That breaks. I break those even. The half-inch solid for a sword you hold in one hand, I've never broken one. I've had them for 5 or 6 years. PVC, cheap, very cheap. Schedule 80 PVC, Schedule 40 PVC.
Yeah.
I like the 80 better. It's shorter lengths, up to 32 inches. Probably won't break, but sometimes does.
Yeah.
But I have swords from 2002. So.
And then the foam is just camping pads from Walmart.
Yeah.
Simple stuff.
Or it's also called 2-pound EVA or EVA, heard it pronounced different ways, closed cell foam. But that is basically what Walmart is. You're looking for roughly striking surfaces about 2.5 inches thick. The flats of the weapons have less padding. You'll see there's some padding here that's masked up with tape. That's we call this courtesy padding. If you have a long pole arm, 6 feet long, it's nice to have the part where you stab people be padded, but realistically, somebody's going to trip over or bump into that long pipe. It's nice to put a layer, just one layer, courtesy padding, so if they bump into it.
So I don't know if the next group needs to get in.
I don't know.
There is no group actually following you.
Oh.
So,
I think it's a game an hour later.
yeah.
An hour later?
So-
We can keep going. I can do this forever.
Yeah, if anyone has more questions, that's fine.
I know lots about all the things. This kind of details I could do infinitely. I didn't think you were going to ask about that. I was like,
Yeah,
well,
and we have building tutorials online if you're interested in the exact way to make these weapons.
there are.
And they're very safe while still feeling, hefty and real.
Yeah,
I think they're actually safer than some of the, light taffy ones because those don't have.
On that note, does anyone want a business card so they can spam me for
definitely
the... So I can actually send you the links to those tutorials. A lot of them have photographs. I really think in LARP we have the best tutorials for building arrows for archery. I've seen a lot of all sorts of weird arrows in the LARP community. We've been doing... The one thing that's nice about Beliar, I will say, just to, tout it a little bit, we've been playing for 35 plus years. We're one of the first ones that started way back in the 70s. And we've learned the hard way, because we do fight full contact, what is safe and what is not.
Yeah, if something isn't safe, it gets weeded out really quickly.
It gets weeded out really quickly in our community. And so we have really nice weapons. We have really nice weapons in terms of preventing injury. You may not like them when you get hit by them, but you're probably not injured by them. So that's something that's really important. And our arrows, the way that we do arrows, I believe is absolutely the most fantastic. We have no worries whatsoever about shooting our arrows into your eye socket. You will be unhappy, but not injured. You will be playing again in 2 minutes, for sure.
We also have our Book of War is our rules for combat. And it's very simple because it's just, hit your arm, you lose it. But it has really good rules for safety, types of combat that is safe but still fun.
Yeah.
And it's the type of thing that I think any group could use as their basic combat rules, and if you want to put abilities or magic on top of it, that's very easy to do.
Yeah.
But in terms of the basic, what is a fun way to do the physical combat, it's a pretty good resource because it's been tested for so long.
Yeah, and if you do rules, the one thing I would say is, I have the benefit of using this international rule set. Maybe you're going to make your own rules, but you should write them down ahead of time and you should give them to your people ahead of time. The nice thing, there are many systems of rules out there already. You don't have to use mine, you don't have to use his, you don't have to use this one, but there's so many. And the thing I'd mention about that is, whoever's has been out there for a while, it's been play tested. And that's something to really keep in mind. It's okay to make your own rules, but think about the fact that somebody out there's got a set of rules that's been played with from 10,000 people over 10 years. There's some power to that, and there's so many different groups out there, not just ours. All sorts of different kinds of rule sets you could use.
Yeah.
But do post your rules ahead of time for your players, or they'll get grumpy with you. You should not have omnipotent like powers to, decide this and that, their fate. for various situations.
And the other thing is, if you are recruiting from other groups, the more your system has in common with the system they already know, the faster they'll be able to adapt and join your game.
That's true. It's something to keep in mind. Simple things, or it makes it easier too.
Speaking of rule sets, I want to ask you a little bit philosophical question.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on, say, hidden skill trees or hidden skill sets that have to be discovered through gameplay?
Ooh, that's a hard question for somebody like me, isn't it?
And it's tougher since you have more of the war game style. But I'm curious to get your opinion.
We do this sometimes for our games. It makes everyone mad. I don't know what it does for you guys. I guess if you gave people a fair warning ahead of time that general concept would be around, I mean, that would be my first recommendation, is just say, and guys, keep in mind, this is an epic adventure. This is a story with mystery and intrigue, and somebody might have abilities you can't even conceive of. And if you set it up like that, and then be like, aside, be like, yeah, they might have special powers. You should look out for that. As a storyteller, I think if you give them fair warning, you should be able to try it out.
Yeah.
If you don't give them warning, I wouldn't. I don't know. Even our guys, we'll just flat out announce it like, so-and-so's weapon does black damage. If it touches you, you die. That's not a real rule that we have. That's a special game rule.
Yeah.
And it still makes everybody rabid.
And so the big thing we do in our games is when we have that type of stuff that's limited, it's limited to one battle or one event. So people can discover it there, and then they know what it is and can interact with it, and then they don't have to worry about it later. The danger comes if it stays around in your community in an ongoing way. You face the danger of play becoming sort of degenerate for new people, where a new person reads the document, the rules, and they say, okay, I think I understand what's going on, and they show up, and everyone they meet who's been there for a while does something they've never heard of and they don't understand. You have to stop every 3 minutes and explain to them. So I like, maybe instead of a hidden skill that they have forever, maybe they find an item they can use 5 times on special occasions or something like that. But the main thing is thinking about, in the long term, what will the experience be for a new person walking into that.
Clarify.
Yeah.
Now you guys probably know. So I have done this only a couple of, more often when I play than probably other LARPers. You should probably try to avoid the need for this when you are running your games. I think having powers is totally fine. I think explaining, even having hidden powers can be fine if you explain to people that might be something that they would encounter. I think having a set, even if it was a set type of thing, I've heard of, there's things like knockback or sleep. Well, sleep is pretty obvious, right? We're like, what's that going to do? You'd be like, even if somebody's like sleep, I'm like, I get on the ground. So think about that when you decide to give somebody superpowers or whatever. Pick titles for said powers that are somewhat self-explanatory, to help your players out. I think that would be really important. It's the stuff that I'll hear that is like really weird. I'll just be like, I don't know what you want from me. And I'm always an NPC because they don't know what to do with me. But yeah, something like that. You don't want to break the flow of your story. Keep it simple, stupid. That's one of the things that we say, KISS. And in our sport, and it's got to be especially true for storytelling. So that's what I would recommend.
I have a question at the moment.
Cool.
Anyone else have a question?
All right. Did everybody get a card if they wanted one? We got good weapons tutorials we can spam on you guys, and we have fighters up in Portland that do this thing.
Really?
Yeah. I'm sure it would be a really nice place actually to have a community like that.
I know that there were a number of communities a while ago, and a bunch of them faded out all around the same time.
Yeah. Thank you.
There's been a slow movement to revitalize everything.
Yeah.
We have a game storm every year.
Nice.
We have specific warp tracks. We have 2 rooms, and then wherever else we can put them.
Nice.
That have been filling up and getting overfull with games now.
Cool.
So.
No, that's good. I mean, it's a fun thing that we do, really. It's a lot of fun, so.
How about the San Francisco area? Are there chapters there you'd recommend?
For our group or for...
Your group.
I don't know if they have one in actual San Francisco, but they've got some right outside.
Okay.
Sunnyvale.
Yeah. Yep.
If you send me an email, I can go look them all up.
Okay.
Specifically,
Yeah.
there are people there, yes. Off the top of my head, I do not remember all of the groups.
Sure.